Good evening, everyone. I'm Ruben Alvarez, and I'm CEO of Latino Leaders Network. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you to our convention series reception. On behalf of Latino Leaders Network's Board of Directors, that includes our founder and chairman, Mickey Ibarra of Washington, D.C., as well as our board member, Rudy Becerra of Atlanta, who's also a past recipient of the Eagle Leadership Award. I want to thank all of you for joining us to celebrate leadership. For those of you unfamiliar with Latino Leaders Network, we're a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization established in 2004 with the primary focus and dedication to bringing leaders together to share our personal stories, grow relationships, and build unity. The events of these past few days show us why the vision of Latino Leaders Network is more important than ever. By coalescing the diversity of thoughts, diversity of ideologies, and diversity of cultures, we refuse to accept violence, hate, and intolerance as a means of change. Instead, we acknowledge and honor individuals who strive to improve our Latino community and our country. We aim to build each other up, not bring each other down, by exemplifying how individuals can overcome adversity and exclusion through education, hard work, and giving of themselves for a greater good. Over the last 20 years, we have honored leaders who have demonstrated a strong impact and influence on the lives of Latinos living in the United States. Our programs provide a platform for public officials, community, and business leaders to share their personal stories of obstacles overcome to achieve success. And tonight is no exception as we honor Danny Vargas. Now, while all of you are VIP guests and worthy of recognition, I want to take a minute to acknowledge a few special guests who are joining us this evening, beginning with the First Lady of Texas, Cecilia Abbott. With us, we also have the Honorable Jesse Rodriguez, Wisconsin State Legislator. The Honorable Jose Perez, Common Council President for the City of Milwaukee. And a few of our community leaders, including Andre Alvarez, President CEO of Hispanic C-Suite Corporate Council. I apologize if I didn't pronounce it properly. Ruben Burgos, President of the Board of Directors of Wisconsin Hispanic Scholarship Foundation. Luis Ayala, President CEO of La Causa. Dr. Nelson Soler, President and CEO of the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Southeastern Wisconsin. And as a point of special privilege, I also want to acknowledge my business partner, Jaime Molera of Molera Alvarez. We are also pleased to be joined by Tammy Jackson Buckner, Head of Federal Government Relations for Michael Best Strategies in Washington, D.C., who will provide greetings.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you for being here at Michael Best. Thank you for being here at Michael Best. Thank you for being here at Michael Best. We are pleased to have you here. Mickey and I were just having a random lunch, as he's given me advice and counsel, as he's always have. Tribute to Rudy, who's probably forcing him to do so for the rest of my life. But there's been some gentlemen in my life, Ruben included, Mickey, and definitely Ruben, that would just made it possible for me to be the head of the Government Affairs Office in Washington, D.C. This is our home here, our flagship home. So welcome, enjoy yourself. I can't leave without saying how important it is for Michael Best, for me personally. I started with this organization when I was at Coca-Cola. I'm not going to tell you the year, but it was Ruben and who got me started and made me fall in love with Latino Leaders Network. And I've been a part of it every step of the way. And that's because of the great work, the community leadership, the togetherness, the hardship, the hard work, the tenacity, the bringing together of everyone else. My friend in the back, Holly Davis, will contest to this, that this is an organization that only the proud and the privileged and the few and the inclusive mindset want to be involved in. And I think that's what Ruben and Mickey has built, a community of inclusiveness. So thank you again for being here at Michael Best and just sharing your time with us. I have a few colleagues I want to shout out real quickly because that's what I do on the mic. And I have a couple here. They're my leaders. They're my friends. They're my colleagues. One is my colleague, Rachel. My other colleague, Chris Seymour. You probably met Rob. And we have others. And you're going to meet my other colleague, George P. Bush. But we're very proud to have you in our house tonight. And we have others here. So get to know us. We're likable people. But with that, other than just being really, really proud of being able to house you here in Milwaukee for this convention, I wish I had the space for Chicago. But I really wanted to pay tribute. And if you can just turn, I hope they flash the screen and get off of me for a minute. But we had a colleague here that was near and dear to most of us. Jose has been the person that made our organization as strong as it is. Leaders of this firm attribute him to our practice in immigration. Chris Seymour, who you'll meet if you haven't already, will contest to the fact that he was the guy that knocked on your door before you knocked on his. When I joined Michael Best Strategies almost 4 years ago, I heard from him before I can get to him. I just want to pause for 1 minute because we're in his house. This is why I say thank you for being here at Michael Best. It's because of Jose. Thank you for being at Michael Best. If you guys are in here, men and women who are here in the Milwaukee or Wisconsin area, you know that he has not just touched the community, but the business community. He's extended all the way to Washington, D.C. There's not a community leader that does not know that name. He has had walks here in town that's gathered hundreds just for walks and marathons, and it's to come. Beautiful family. I wanted to just bring us to him because that's who Latino leaders is. They always bring people together. They have a great history, and they honor individuals with great stories. Can we pause for just a second or two, just for Jose, and remember all the people in your world that's like a Jose, that has passed on, but he is our flagship. Thank you. With that, I'll turn it back over to Ruben. Again, thank you for being here at Michael Best.
Tammy, thank you. Thank you for your hospitality and allowing us to host tonight's event here in your headquarters. Tonight's event is made possible due to the generosity of good corporate partners. We are grateful for the support of our premier sponsor, Chevron. Although he's unable to be with us this evening, I want to especially thank Henry Perea for his support and friendship over the years. Our reception co-sponsor is Coinbase, and with us to provide sponsor remarks is Kara Calvert, Head of U.S. Policy.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us, Ruben. We're really, really pleased to be here. And unlike Tammy and Michael Best, we're actually new to the Latino Leaders Network. And you might ask, why, right? Why is a crypto company? Coinbase is one of the largest crypto companies in the world. We have services and products all over the world in 100 different countries. But why Latinos leadership, right? Why are we here? It's really because when people ask us about the killer app for crypto, what it is today is remittances. It's international transfers. And we see in communities particularly have been left behind with access to financial services, we see an overwhelming gearing toward people who want to update the system. And crypto can help do that. And remittance is one of the cheapest, easiest, and fastest ways to prove that. What we see now is when you use Coinbase Wallet or any other number of services, you can actually bring the cost down to zero. What does that mean? 1 in 8 Americans today do remittances. They send money back to loved ones back home. Of that, 2/3 are actually sending it to Spanish-speaking countries. And they're paying $12 billion a year in fees. And it takes average 5 days to clear every single one of those transfers. So if we can bring that cost down to zero, that's a huge savings for families. So we're just so excited to be here and look forward to a long partnership.
Thank you, Kara. Also, a big thank you to Southwest Airlines, the official airline of Latino Leaders Network. And finally, to our additional sponsors, Verizon, PG&E, and Voto Latino. Now, please join me in a round of applause for all of tonight's sponsors. In 2020, the Latino Leaders Network honored our special guest, the Honorable George P. Bush, with the Eagle Leadership Award. This award, which will be presented to tonight's honoree, is given to an American Latino leader who has made a significant impact on the lives of Latinos living in the United States. The son of former Governor of Florida, Jeb Bush, and Columba Bush from León, Guanajuato, Mexico, George P. Bush served as the 28th Land Commissioner for the state of Texas, where he led the largest housing recovery in state history in response to Hurricane Harvey, helping more than 60,000 victims rebuild their homes, but more importantly, their lives. During his tenure, he worked to ensure Texas's 1.8 million veterans received the benefits they earned. As chairman of the $8.6 billion Permanent School Fund, Bush helped to generate record revenues for K-12 education through innovative administration practices and implemented prudent stewardship measures over 13 million acres of state lands and natural resources. George P. currently serves as managing partner of the Austin office of Michael Best and Friedrich LLP. So please join me in welcoming George P. Bush.
Buenas noches. ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Todo bien? It's great to be with you. Bring a little bit of Tex-Mex tonight for you, along with Madam First Lady Cecilia Abbott, who I consider a hero, a mentor. Besitos. She's just an amazing leader for our great state, and so great to be joined by so many Texans here. Hate to brag, but in Texas, it's not bragging if it's true. By saying that we're pretty Republican state and have a pretty good active delegation on the floor. My partners asked for me to be very short and brief tonight. We have a filibuster rule here. I'm Michael Best, and I want to respect that. But I just want to thank the tremendous leadership of Latino Leaders Network and the work that has not only been done just this past year, but over the decades, Mickey. I mean, you're a true legend within the community. For politicians, we think this is important because it's a fast-growing community, but there's not a more American community than the Hispanic community. When you look at the faith, when you look at the military service, and I want to thank you, sir, for your military service. Along with tonight's honoree, by the way, who continues not only with his military service by honoring the millions of Latinos that have served in the military, and I look forward to celebrating Danny tonight. So the work that you're doing is so critical during this complicated and difficult time in American politics. And really, that's my only message for each and every one of you tonight, is that there's nothing more American than disagreeing, but in a civil way. Let's have our differences of opinion in a vigorous fashion, and there's going to be plenty of time to do that after the DNC and we get full-fledged into a campaign election cycle. But let's do this the right way. Let's have a battle of ideas, not a battle of weaponry and ammunition on political candidates, whether they be running for president or for other offices. It's time to ratchet down the rhetoric and get back down to basics. Look, I'm not here tonight to point the blame at one group or another. All of us share some of that blame. But I believe that it starts at the home. It starts with how we raise our kids, how we get involved in our community, how we act in our churches, in our synagogues, because the true power of our country is not in the halls of government. It's in the homes and hearts of our people. So I thank you all for coming tonight, for being civically engaged. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless Latino Leaders Network. Thank you.
Very, very well said. Now you know why we honored him 4 years ago. Our next speaker will be providing a tribute to our honoree. But before I invite him up, I just want to personally thank Daryl Modine for all his assistance and help in helping us put this event together. Thank you. Daryl is the president and chairman of Forward Latino, a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy and service organization dedicated to assisting our Hispanic community to pursue the American dream by empowering and supporting a diverse national network of community leaders addressing the civic, economic, and political challenges of the 21st century. Please welcome Daryl, who will provide the honoree tribute.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see, thank you, so good to see so many faces from not just around Wisconsin, but from Texas, from Washington, D.C., and all over. Boy, Mickey, Ruben, you brought together the Latino powers that be from around the country. So big round of applause, right, for our host this evening. Before I get started, a couple of things. First off, I saw Laura Gutierrez here. Laura, where are you? Okay, Executive Director of the UCC. So thank you so much, too, for coming out tonight. And Tammy, thank you very much for your moving remarks with regards to Jose. And Laura and the whole team at the UCC is actually hosting a memorial this weekend, if I believe so. So, you know, driving here, I got a little bit emotional thinking about my dear friend. And then I thought, you know what? Nothing would make him happier than seeing what's happening here tonight. So I know he's smiling down on us from up above. Can we give Jose, right, a big round of applause? Let him know how much we appreciate him, right? So, boy, once again, I just want to go ahead and thank Mickey and Ruben and the entire team at Latino Leaders Network for everything they've achieved. 20 years of working, having the vision to do that, and then executing with all their leadership development events across the country, bringing people together for that important reason, sharing our stories. You know, we're not a community that lives in the past. We always look to the future, but it's important to remember those important events, right? The stories of aspirations, our individual aspirations, right? Of always wanting to achieve more. Sharing the stories of our successes, how perseverance and commitment can really lead you to overcome so many of these challenges to inspire our next generations. And that's really what you've done with the Latino Leaders Network. And you know, that sharing of those stories is so important. And I want to take a moment, please indulge me. I'd like to invite all those veterans that we have in the crowd to come step up front, because we need to acknowledge their contributions to our nation's stories. So please, could I have all of our vets come to the front? If you're a reservist in active military, right? If you're in the Guard, or if you have a family member who's serving or has served, right? You know, going all the way back. Yeah, let's make sure we get the perfect photo. There you go. And please stay here with us for a moment. Don't go back just yet. You know, going back to the Revolutionary War, right? That's where our community's contributions to the creation of our great country and the defenses of our freedom begins. So many times I think that gets lost because we don't share our stories enough. So once again, gentlemen, in our eyes, you're all heroes. I want to thank your families as well, because nobody serves alone. And I can say that as my son is serving in Europe right now, overseas. So thank you all, and please thank your families for us as well. So once again, it's an honor to stand before you all this evening. It is my great honor, and I was humbled to receive this invitation to say a few words about this year Latino Leaders Network Eagle Award recipient. And boy, I could have been up here all night. What he has done and what he continues to do is simply inspirational and amazing. Tonight's recipient grew up in New York City, facing tremendous challenges. His entire family did. And he overcame these challenges to leave his mark not only on our nation's for-profit, but our nonprofit institutions as well. Just a few of his titles and achievements. Well, he proudly served in the United States Air Force for 7 years, working in both intelligence and national security roles. He started a nationally recognized marketing, public relations, and professional services firm, Vargas Solutions. He served as the national chairman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, is the chairman of the Virginia Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, as well as the chairman of the Go Northern Virginia Economic Development Initiative. And in the nonprofit space, seeing the need that our veterans faced, he went ahead and founded and currently serves as the chairman and CEO of the American Latino Veterans Association. Yes. For his efforts, he was named one of the 101 most influential Latinos across America by Latino Leaders magazine. And well, I could go on and say so much more. But there's one achievement that I think really makes this more incredibly appropriate, especially given the nature of the Latino Leaders Network. Tonight's recipient led a national bipartisan effort to ensure our history, that our stories as a community are told for generations to come. He, through his extraordinary leadership, he led an effort that was voted on and funded by the U.S. Congress that will create the latest and newest museum of the Smithsonian Museum organization. Due to his efforts, we are proudly, in just a few years, going to have the National Museum of the American Latino. Today, he serves as Chairman Emeritus of the Friends of the National Museum of the American Latino. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and join me in honoring the commitment, service, achievements, and accomplishments of Mr. Raul Danny Vargas.
And now to present the Latino Leader Network's Eagle Leadership Award, I want to invite our organization's founder and chairman, Mickey Ibarra.
Danny, it's my pleasure to present our Eagle Leadership Award to you, Danny Vargas, for your outstanding contribution and leadership for our nation and our community. Here you go.
Wow. After an introduction like that, I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. I want to thank Mickey and the Latino Leaders Network for this incredibly humbling honor. It truly is very humbling. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening. I want to thank George P. Bush for joining us as well. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a moment to thank my family, briefly, beginning with my mom, whom we lost in 2016, who was able to raise 4 kids as a single mom, despite having an incredibly challenging and difficult life. My mom was born in Puerto Rico to an incredibly poor family. They were so poor that they gave her away to a slightly better off family to work as a servant girl. That family never let her go to school. She never went to the first month of the first grade. She never learned to read or write. Ended up moving to New York, lived in New York for like 60 years and learned maybe a dozen words of English. She knew how to say, hello, how are you? Get the heck out of my way. That was the extent of it. But she was the strongest woman I ever knew. She was the one that taught me that when they tell you to sit down and shut up, That's when you need to stand your tallest and be your strongest, especially if you're standing up for somebody else. She taught me that it's okay to break some dishes and ruffle some feathers if you're trying to do something good for somebody else. I also want to thank my sisters growing up. I was youngest of 4 kids, 3 older sisters. That's a whole other story. But especially my oldest sister, Iris, who, when I was 16 or so, she stepped into my life and grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and shook me real hard and put me back on the right track. I want to thank my 2 sons, Daniel and David, the 2 greatest sons that Dad could ever hope for. I want to thank my wife, Arlene, who's been putting up with me for the last 34 years. I want to thank God, without whose intervention I would not be here today. Those of you that know me know that I often say that statistically I ought to be dead or in jail right now. Somebody who grew up like me, a Puerto Rican kid from the slums of Brooklyn, from back in the bad old days, who grew up in a broken home on welfare, sometimes homeless, often hungry. Usually a story that begins that way doesn't end too well. But I was able to join the Air Force at 17. Not only as a way to get out of that environment, but as a way to be able to give back to my country, as a way to be able to serve. Because I knew even then instinctively that despite the circumstances that I grew up in, I was incredibly blessed and fortunate to be born in the one country in the world where the outcome may not be guaranteed, but the opportunity is. And I kept that spirit of giving back alive throughout the rest of my life. After my service in the military, after 5 years as a government contractor, after a career as an executive in some of the world's biggest telecom and technology companies, after starting my company, Vargas Solutions, 20 years ago, I've been able to stay involved in those areas and issues that I care about deeply and where I'm passionate. Everything from workforce development to economic development, from transportation to immigration, from civil rights to healthcare to public safety. And I've been able to stay involved in these areas because I care so much about helping our struggling neighbors get the help that they need to be able to achieve the dignity of sustainable self-sufficiency, and to make sure that I could help lead the effort to create a new national museum on the National Mall for a segment of the population that is woefully under-recognized and underappreciated. You know, when I was chairman of the Friends of the National Museum of American Latino, it was a time of bitter division in our country. But we were able to create a national, bipartisan, unifying, positive, patriotic coalition to get a bill passed in Congress for a more complete and accurate telling of American history, to illuminate the American story for the benefit of everybody. And we were able to get that done after 26 years of trying. After years of people telling us to just give up, it's a lost cause, it's never going to happen. We were able to get the authorization bill passed in Congress in December of 2020, on my birthday, December 21st. And we were able to show the nation not only what could be done, but how to get it done. And now the Smithsonian is going about the business of planning for this museum, but the work is not yet done. We still need Congress to act to remove a restriction on the National Mall for building new buildings, so that we can house this important institution in America's backyard where it belongs. So that visitors to our nation's capital can easily see the stories of our community's contributions to the building, the shaping, defending of this nation from the very beginning, including serving in every war we've ever had. And that's one of the reasons that I created the American Latino Veterans Association, ALVA, to be able to not only help the 1.5 Latino veterans in this country today thrive, but also to recognize their indispensable contributions. So we focus on 5 key areas: workforce development and job placement, entrepreneurship, information on resources and benefits, advocacy, and yes, telling those stories of Latino contributions to our military history throughout the entire history of the United States, from Spanish General Bernardo de Galvez and over 10,000 troops that helped stem the advance of the British from the South, coming from Central America and the Caribbean and the New World, so allowing General Washington to win the War of Independence, to the first full admiral in the United States Navy during the Civil War, David Farragut, who famously uttered those immortal words, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead," to the 200,000 Latino troops in World War I, to the 500,000 Latino troops who fought in World War II. To the Korean conflict, where we saw the exploits of the U.S. Army's 65th Infantry Regiment, the Borinquerillos of Puerto Rico, setting the gold standard for the bravery of a combat unit. to the thousands of Hispanic surnames left on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall, to the young Latinas and Latinos who have served and sacrificed on our behalf in the battlefields of Afghanistan and Iraq, to the 60+ Hispanic Medal of Honor recipients, to the 25% of the Marine Corps today. As an Air Force veteran, I can tell you Latinos take a backseat to no one in the defense of liberty. Now, while I fully recognize that we're here in Milwaukee during a partisan political event, I'd like to speak for a moment about something a bit deeper, and that's the soul of our nation. I remember when I was the national chairman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly back during the 2008 presidential campaign for John McCain. I was at a fundraiser at a home in the Las Vegas area, and I was giving a speech, typical talking points of a campaign. And in the middle of that speech, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a little girl. She was maybe 6 years old. And I had an epiphany. I had a realization that this was so much more. It wasn't just about a campaign. It wasn't about a candidate. It wasn't even about an election. This really was about her. And it was about all of the other kids. And it was about all the future generations and what kind of country we would be leaving them. Look, as an Air Force veteran, I fully recognize that we are the most powerful nation on planet Earth. We've got the most powerful military that the world has ever seen. There's not a single external force that can take us down. The only thing that can take us down is our own internal division. And the level of division and tribalism and polarization that we're seeing in our country today is unsustainable, and it's a threat to our national stability. So I'm just going to ask you in closing to go beyond politics, if you would. And if we could take a look at ourselves, if we can look at ourselves in the mirror every day and ask ourselves if we're doing everything that we can to make our nation stronger and freer and more prosperous, if we're doing everything that we can to make our society more fair, more equal, and more just, and if we're encouraging and modeling more peace, love, unity, kindness, and civility, because we can all be doing more. We can all be doing more to serve our country, to serve our communities, and to serve our neighbors, because we are all children of God. Which reminds me of one of my favorite Bible verses from Galatians 6:9 that says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will all reap a harvest if we do not give up." Thank you all so very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Danny. In closing, I want to again thank Tammy Jackson Buckner and the team at Michael Best Strategies for allowing us the opportunity to host tonight's reception here in their Milwaukee headquarters. Thank you, Tammy. Also, please join me in thanking our event team, led by Jana Donaire, Estrella Mendoza, Christopher Guerrero, and the Twins PR for a job well done. Thank you, team. This concludes tonight's program, but please resume with the reception. Thank you all for being here.